Day One stood at the observation window of the colony ship, watching Earth shrink behind them. His wife Hannah squeezed his hand. They were finally leaving for Mars after 3 years of waiting. Their new ranch was ready. The terraformed land was waiting. Everything was perfect. Then the alarms started screaming. The ship's lights flickered and died. Emergency red lights came on. People started shouting. Children cried. Day One's old instincts kicked in immediately. He pulled Hannah close and moved them both against the wall, away from the panicking crowd. "Stay calm," he said quietly to the people near him. His voice was steady. Years in the Korean Special Forces had taught him that calm was contagious. So was panic. The ship shuddered. Something massive had grabbed them. Through the window, Day One saw it. A ship so large it looked like a floating city. Dark metal, strange angles, lights that hurt to look at. Alien. 3 months ago, humanity had made first contact with the Vrellan Empire. The aliens had seemed friendly. They shared technology. They talked about peace. They promised humanity would join the galactic community. They had lied. The Vrellan boarded through the airlocks. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, with blue-gray skin and too many joints in their arms. They wore armor that shimmered like oil on water. They carried weapons that hummed with power. But what struck Day One most was their attitude. They didn't move like soldiers entering hostile territory. They moved like farmers entering a barn. "Compliant species prepare for processing," one of them announced. Its voice came through a translator, flat and emotionless. "You will not be harmed if you cooperate. You are now property of the Vrellan Empire." Property. The word hit like a punch. People screamed, some ran. The Vrellan didn't even raise their weapons. They pulled out small devices that looked like remote controls. Clicked buttons. Every human who ran suddenly collapsed, screaming. Day One saw the metal collars around their necks, saw the electricity arcing through them. When had they put collars on everyone? He reached up, felt cold metal around his own throat. During the medical scan before departure, they had prepared this months ago. "Do not resist," the Vrellan said. "Your species is Category 4, non-aggressive, no natural weapons. Fragile bone structure, limited muscle density. You are suitable for labor and service roles only." Hannah's fingers dug into Day One's arm. He knew what she was thinking. She had been a combat medic in the army. She had sewn up soldiers in the middle of firefights. She had carried wounded men twice her size out of danger. The Vrellan had scanned human bodies but understood nothing about human spirit. The aliens herded them through corridors into a massive cargo hold. 5,000 people packed together like animals. The ceiling was 50 feet high. The walls were bare metal. There were no seats, no beds, no bathrooms he could see. Just open space and 5,000 terrified humans. Families tried to stay together. The Vrellan separated them anyway. Men to one side, women to another, children to a third. People begged. The aliens ignored them like farmers ignore the sounds of cattle. Day One lost sight of Hannah in the crowd. He forced himself to stay calm, to observe. The Vrellan had made a mistake by putting all the men together. They thought they were separating humans to break their spirit. Instead, they had grouped the most potentially dangerous elements in one place. As Day One was pushed into the men's section, he started noticing things. The way some men moved, the way they held themselves, the way their eyes scanned the room, calculating, measuring. There, a man in his 40s, stocky build, moving with economy of motion. He caught Day One's eye and gave the smallest nod. Military. Had to be. There. A younger man, early 30s, with scars on his knuckles and a way of turning that protected his right side. Wounded in combat. Favored that side now. There. An older man, maybe 50, who despite the chaos stood perfectly still, watching everything. Officer command experience. Day One had served for 20 years before retiring to ranch life. He knew his people. He started counting. 1, 5, 12, 23, 37, 47 veterans, scattered through the crowd of terrified civilians. 47 men who had seen combat, who had trained for years, who knew that panic was poison and calm was a weapon. A Vrellan walked past Day One's section. It looked at them the way a farmer looks at pigs. "You are fortunate," it said. "Most species resist, they die. Humans are different. You know you are weak. You accept it. This makes you valuable. You will serve well." The alien walked away. Around Daewon, some men were crying. Some were angry. Some were broken already. But the stocky man Daewon had noticed earlier was now closer, close enough to whisper. "Name's Minho," he said, voice barely audible. "Marines, you?" "Daewon. Special Forces. See the tall one by the wall? That's G1, fighter pilot. The still one in the corner? That's Hyun, Navy SEAL." They weren't talking loud enough for the Vrelin sensors to pick up. Just two men standing close in a crowd. Daewon had spent years learning to communicate in hostile territory. So had Minho. "How many?" Minho asked. 47, I can confirm. Maybe more. 5,000 total. 47 trained. Bad odds. I've worked with worse, Daewon said. Iraq 2035. 30 of us held a city block for 3 days. Minho smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Syria 2038. 22 of us took an airfield from 400. They both went quiet as a Vrelin guard passed. The alien looked at them. Saw two scared humans standing together for comfort. Moved on, satisfied. The next few hours were bad. The Vrelin fed them something that tasted like paste, gave them water that tasted wrong, showed them the bathroom facilities, which were just holes in the floor with no privacy, showed them the sleeping area, which was the same floor they were standing on. They were cattle. The Vrelin weren't even pretending otherwise. But Daewon noticed something important. The guards were relaxed. They walked around without concern. They turned their backs on the humans. They talked to each other and laughed. 40 species, the Vrelin had said during first contact. 40 species in their empire, and apparently all 40 had submitted quickly. The Vrelin had scanned human bodies and found them wanting. No claws, no fangs, no thick hide, no poison, no strength. Just soft, weak primates who could barely survive on their own planet. They had seen the surface. They had missed everything underneath. That night, if you could call it night in the eternally lit hold, Daewon made his way through the crowd. He used old hand signals, the kind soldiers learn, small gestures that look like nervous habits to anyone watching. Scratching your ear in a certain way, touching your nose, running fingers through your hair. To the 47 veterans, they meant something. They meant gather. They meant watch. They meant wait. By the time the guards changed shift, Daewon had made contact with 16 of them. By the time the lights dimmed slightly for sleeping time, he had reached 31. In the women's section, he knew Hana was doing the same thing. She would find the veterans there. The soldiers, the police officers, the ones who had trained and fought and learned how predators really think. The Vrelin thought humans were harmless. They had conquered 40 species and found them all to be natural prey. They had decided humans were the same. They were wrong. Humans weren't natural prey. Humans were natural hunters who had spent 10,000 years learning to hunt each other. They were predators who had gotten so good at killing that they had finally chosen to stop. Not because they couldn't fight. Because they didn't want to anymore. The Vrelin had mistaken choice for inability. They had mistaken civilization for weakness. They had mistaken peace for harmlessness. Across the hold, Minho caught Daewon's eye. In the dim light, with hundreds of people between them, they shared a look. No words needed. They both knew what came next. The Vrelin had put 5,000 humans in a cage. They thought they had cattle. They were about to learn they had caught wolves. 1 week in the hold changed people. The Vrelin kept the lights on almost all the time. They fed the humans twice a day the same tasteless paste. They gave them water that made some people sick. They allowed no privacy, no dignity, no hope. Some humans broke. They sat in corners and stared at nothing. Others got angry and shouted at the guards until the shock collars put them down. Most just survived moment to moment, trying not to think about what came next. But Daewon was working. He had identified all 47 veterans in the men's section now. They were spread throughout the crowd, never standing together, never drawing attention. To the Vrelin, they looked like everyone else, scared, defeated, harmless. The veterans knew better. They were gathering information. Quan was a former intelligence officer. He was 45 and looked soft like an accountant. The Vrelin guards walked right past him without a second glance. That was their mistake. Quan had spent 20 years learning to be invisible. He stood near the walls and watched everything. Guards change every 6 hours, Quan whispered to Daewon during feeding time. They were standing in line, just 2 more hungry humans. Same 4 guards each shift. They walked the perimeter 12 times per hour. They checked the women's section first, then the men's, then the children's. They spend less time in our section. They think we're less dangerous. Weapons? Daewon asked. Those energy rifles on their hips. They never draw them. They rely on the shock collars completely. I've seen them walk past fights without even touching their weapons. Just press the remote and watch people drop. Daewon nodded. Arrogance was a weakness. The Vrelin had conquered 40 species. Every single one had submitted within days. They expected the same from humans. In a different part of the hold, Yuna was doing her own work. She was 33, small and quiet. She had been an army engineer. She could build bridges, disarm bombs, and fix anything mechanical. Now she studied the walls. The Vrelin ship was massive. It had taken 5 colony ships already, according to the guards. 15,000 humans were aboard, packed into different holds, all heading somewhere called Processing Facility Theta 9. Nobody knew what processing meant, but the word made everyone afraid. Yuna traced her fingers along the wall panels when guards weren't looking. She found seams, rivets, access points. She saw how the ship was built. More importantly, she saw the faint heat shimmer behind some panels. Power conduits, she told Minho quietly. Behind those panels. I can see the heat signature. The ship's power runs through the walls near us. Can you access them? Minho asked. Not yet. I'd need tools. But I'm memorizing the layout. When we move, I'll know where to strike. When? Not if. None of the veterans said if anymore. The Vrelin made their biggest mistake on day 4. They got comfortable. A young Vrelin guard, smaller than the others, started talking to Taeyang. The boy was 19, had never left Earth before, had never seen violence. He was terrified, and the guard seemed to find this amusing. Why do you fear? The Vrelin asked through its translator. We do not waste resources. You will be processed, reconditioned, and assigned work. This is how the Empire functions. Reconditioned? Taeyang's voice shook. Memory adjustment. Behavioral modification. You will forget your old life. You will accept your purpose. It is painless. Most species thank us afterward. Taeyang looked like he might throw up, but he kept talking. Because Daewon had told him to. The veterans needed information, and the guards would talk to someone non-threatening. Why us? Taeyang asked. Why humans? The Vrelin made a sound that might have been a laugh. You are perfect. No natural weapons, fragile, weak, easy to transport, easy to manage. We scanned your whole species. You have no warrior evolution. You are natural prey animals who learn to use tools. Category 4 species. Harmless. What about the other species you've caught? Same. All 40 species are Category 4. Warrior species are rare in the galaxy. Most intelligent life evolves from prey animals. Herd creatures. Prey accepts domination naturally. It is in your nature. The guard gestured at the hold full of humans. Look at them. Already broken. Already accepting. This is why humans are valuable. You know your place. Taeyang reported everything to Daewon that night. The veterans passed the information along. They learned that warrior species existed but were rare. They learned that the Vrelin had never encountered real resistance. They learned that every species in the Empire had submitted within days. The Vrelin assumed humans would do the same. They think we're sheep, Minho said quietly. He was teaching a group of young men basic exercises. To the guards, it looked like humans trying to stay healthy. In reality, Minho was teaching them how to move, how to strike, how to use their body weight. They're not completely wrong, Jiwon said. The former fighter pilot was thin and nervous-looking. Another person the guards ignored. Most humans are peaceful. Most of us never learned to fight. But some of us did, Hyun said. The old SEAL was teaching people in another corner, showing them stretches that were really combat stances. And we can teach the others. They don't need to be soldiers. They just need to not panic when it starts. When? Always when. Daewon worked with civilians who showed potential. A young woman named Somin who stayed calm during a fight between other prisoners. A man named Junho who had been a construction worker and understood physics and leverage. Normal people who could be trained. We're not making you into soldiers, Daewon told them. We don't have time. But we can teach you to follow orders, stay calm, and hit what we point at. That's enough. In the women's section, Hana was doing the same. She had found other veterans, other women who had served. They were training in the open, disguised as yoga, as exercise, as nervous energy. The guards never looked twice. On day 5, something changed. A Vrelin captain came to inspect the hold. He was bigger than the guards, his armor more elaborate. He walked through the humans like they weren't there. Status, he asked the guard commander. 97% compliance. 3% require additional conditioning. Standard for new acquisitions. The captain looked around, saw thousands of defeated humans, saw exactly what he expected to see. Humans are the most compliant species we have processed. Excellent, increase rations slightly. We want them healthy for processing. The facility pays more for undamaged stock. Stock, like grain or metal or fuel. The captain turned to leave, but Daewon was nearby. The captain looked at him, saw an older man tired-looking, beaten down. You, the captain said. Why do you not resist? Your species has ships, has weapons, has technology. Why do you submit so easily? Daewon looked up, looked the captain right in the eyes. For just a moment, he let the mask slip, let the captain see what was underneath. We've had a lot of practice being underestimated, Daewon said quietly. The captain stared at him. For a second, something flickered in the alien's eyes. Uncertainty? Recognition? Then the moment passed. The captain saw what he wanted to see. A tired, defeated human, harmless. He walked away, but Minho, standing nearby, had seen the whole thing. When the captain was gone, he smiled. That was stupid, he said. Maybe, Daewon agreed. But I'm tired of pretending to be sheep. Besides, he didn't believe me anyway. They never believe what they don't want to hear. That night, the veterans took stock. They had 73 people now, 47 with combat experience, plus 26 civilians who had been trained enough to follow orders and not panic. 73 fighters. Against a ship with hundreds of Rellan guards, plus whatever weapons and defenses the ship had. Suicidal odds, we don't need to win, Quan said. We just need to take the ship. Or destroy it. Send a message to Earth, tell them what's happening. The ship has communication arrays, Jiwon said. I saw them when we were brought in. If we can reach the bridge, I can broadcast. Big if, Minho said. We're talking about taking over an alien warship with 73 people and no weapons, Hyun added. It's all a big if. Daewon looked around at the veterans. Old soldiers, all of them. They had given up military life, settled down, tried to be peaceful. But you never forgot. The training stayed in your muscles. The instincts stayed in your brain. The experience stayed in your bones. They think we're weak, Daewon said. They think we'll stay broken until they reach their processing facility and erase our minds. That's their plan. They're not worried. They're not prepared. That's our advantage. So we hit them now? Minho asked. Not yet, but soon. We need tools first, weapons, access to critical systems. Yuna needs to reach those power conduits. Jiwon needs to study the ship layout. We need one more piece. What piece? Someone asked. We need to know their weakness. Every species has one. We need to find theirs. The answer came 2 days later. There was a fight between two humans, both scared and desperate. The guards responded. Daewon watched carefully. The Vrellan were fast. Faster than humans. They were strong. Stronger than humans. Their armor was good. Their weapons were excellent, but they moved wrong. They were ambush predators, Daewon realized. Fast strikes, overwhelming force, but no follow-through. No tactics. They expected threats to die quickly or run away, and their armor, strong as it was, had gaps. At the neck, under the arms. Places where joints needed to move. That night, Daewon shared what he had seen. The veterans added their own observations. 2 weeks in the hold. 14 days of watching, learning, planning. The humans had changed. On the surface, they looked more broken than ever. Heads down, voices quiet, moving slowly. Exactly what the Vrellan expected. But underneath, something was different. The veterans had spread through the population like seeds taking root. They taught in whispers. They trained in moments the guards didn't watch. They turned frightened civilians into something harder, not soldiers. There wasn't time for that. But people who could follow orders under pressure, people who wouldn't panic, people who could hit hard when pointed in the right direction. Daewon stood near a wall panel, pretending to lean against it for rest. His hand traced the metal seam. Inside his palm was a piece of sharp plastic stolen from a food container. He had been working on this panel for 3 days, scratching at the sealant whenever guards looked away. Almost through now. Nearby, Yuna pretended to exercise. Her movements brought her closer. 15 minutes, she whispered. Third panel from the corner. That's the main power junction for this section. Daewon nodded slightly. Yuna moved away. To anyone watching, two humans had just shared space briefly. Nothing more. But Yuna had been mapping the ship for 2 weeks. She knew where the power ran now, knew where the life support connected, knew where the gravity generators were. She had built the map in her head, piece by piece, because the Vrelin never thought to stop humans from looking at walls. Siok was doing similar work. He spoke Korean, English, Mandarin, Arabic, and Spanish. But more importantly, he was good at listening. The Vrelin guards talked to each other constantly. Their translators worked both ways. Siok had been learning their language. "They're nervous," Siok told Daewon during a meal. "Not about us, about the schedule. We were supposed to reach Theta 9 yesterday, but there's a problem with the jump drive. We're moving on standard engines. 3 more days instead of 1. 3 days. More time to prepare, or more time for the Vrelin to fix whatever was delaying them." "What's Theta 9? Daewon asked. "Processing facility. I heard 2 guards talking about it. They said it's where humans get reconditioned. Memory wipe, personality adjustment, behavioral modification. They make us into something else. Around them, other humans were eating. If they heard, they didn't show it. But Daewon knew the word would spread. People needed to know what was waiting. Fear was useful if you could focus it." Bora sat in a different section, watching guard patterns. She was 36 and had been a combat controller in the Air Force. She understood battlefields the way artists understood paint. She saw patterns, flows, weak points. 4 guards per shift, she told the veterans who gathered around her that night. They walk clockwise, north door to west door to south door to east door, 12 circuits per hour, 5 minutes per circuit, 43 seconds at each door. She had stolen a piece of cloth and marked it with food stains. To guards, it looked like trash. To the veterans, it was a map. 3 critical points, Bora said, marking spots on the cloth. Engineering here. That's where Yuna needs to go. Bridge here. That's where Seok's team needs to reach. And armory here. That's where Minho takes his people. "How do you know where the armory is?" someone asked. "Guards go there at shift change. I watch them. 6 guards go off duty, they stop at this door. 6 new guards come from that door. They're getting weapons and armor. Has to be armory." Daewon studied the map. 3 targets, 3 teams, 1 chance. "We need tools," he said. "Real weapons." "Working on it," Junho said. He was the former construction worker. 44 years old, hands like concrete blocks. He had been collecting things. Pieces of metal from broken panels, wire from exposed conduits, chemicals from cleaning supplies. He showed Daewon what he had made. Crude but effective. Sharpened metal pieces that could stab. Wire that could cut or strangle. A mixture in a plastic bottle that would burn hot and fast. "Bombs?" Daewon asked. "Small ones. Enough to blow a door or start a fire. Not enough to breach a hull if you're worried about that. I don't want to kill us all." "How many can you make?" "In 3 days? Maybe 6. But I need Yuna's help with placement. These need to hit the right spots or they're just loud noises." In the women's section, Hana had her own preparations. She had found 8 women with military experience. Former soldiers, police officers, security personnel. They had trained the others quietly. Now they had 40 women ready to move when the signal came. "We need to reach the children's section," Hana told her group. "When this starts, the guards might try to use the kids as hostages. We get there first. We protect them. Clear?" Everyone nodded. They understood. This wasn't just about escape. It was about protecting everyone. Soman was part of Hana's group. She was 39 and had been a sniper before becoming an accountant. She hadn't touched a rifle in 10 years, but some skills you never forgot. She had been studying the guard armor for days. "The neck," she told Hana. "Where the helmet meets the chest piece, there's a gap, maybe 2 inches. If you hit it right, you can punch through to the spine." "With what?" Hana asked. "We don't have guns." Soman showed her something she had made. Metal rods from a broken bed frame, sharpened on rough walls. Balanced perfectly, she could throw them accurately up to 30 feet. "We use what we have," Soman said. That night, The Vrelin captain made an announcement. His voice echoed through the hold. Attention, cargo. We will arrive at Processing Facility Theta 9 in 3 days. You will be prepared for reconditioning. This is not painful. You will not remember fear. You will not remember loss. You will be happy in your service to the Empire. This is mercy. The hold went silent. Some people cried. Some prayed. Some just stared. But the veterans looked at each other. 3 days. The timeline was set. Day 1 found Minho in the crowd. Dawn comes in 3 days, he said quietly. We move before they can dock. Everyone knows. They will. Pass it along. Everyone needs to be ready. The word spread that night. Not openly. No speeches. No announcements. Just veterans talking to the people they had trained. Quiet conversations in the dark. 3 days. Be ready. When it starts, follow orders. Don't panic. Trust each other. The civilians were scared, but they were also angry. 2 weeks of being treated like animals had burned away the shock. Now they wanted to fight back. They just needed someone to lead them. The veterans were ready to lead. Taeyang found Daewon the next morning. The young man had changed in 2 weeks. He stood straighter now. His eyes were harder. Being in hell either broke you or forged you. Taeyang had been forged. They said you held a city block once, Taeyang said, against hundreds of enemies, for 3 days. Iraq, Daewon confirmed. Long time ago. How did you do it? Daewon looked at the boy, saw the fear underneath the hardness, saw the need to believe they could win. We didn't try to fight them all at once, Daewon said. We chose our ground, set traps, made them come to us on our terms. 30 of us held that block because we fought smart, not hard. There's 5,000 of us here, 73 trained fighters, thousands of guards. This is worse than Iraq. No, Daewon said. Iraq was worse. In Iraq, the enemy knew we were dangerous. They were careful. They were ready for us. Here? He gestured at the hold. The Vrelin think we're already beaten. They're not ready. They're not careful. They've conquered 40 species and every single one rolled over. They expect the same from us. But we're not the same, Taeyang said. No, we're human. We spent 10,000 years learning how to kill each other. We got so good at it that we finally chose to stop. But we never forgot how. Daewon put a hand on Taeyang's shoulder. The Vrelin are about to learn something about humanity. We're not weak. We're just resting. The next 2 days were tense. The veterans made final preparations. Junho finished his bombs. Yuna memorized every power junction. Siok learned more Vrelin words. Bora refined her attack plan, and the guards noticed nothing. They saw humans being quiet and obedient. They saw exactly what they expected. On the final night, Daewon couldn't sleep. He sat with his back against the wall, eyes closed, remembering. He remembered his training, remembered his missions, remembered the feel of combat, the clarity that came when everything went loud and fast. He had walked away from that life, built a ranch, married Hana, planned a peaceful future on Mars. He had been done with war, but war wasn't done with him. Minho sat down beside him. Having doubts? No, Daewon said. Just remembering. Remember Iraq? Every day. Remember what you told us? When we were pinned down on that second day? When it looked like we'd all die? Daewon smiled slightly. I said we weren't outnumbered. They were. They just didn't know it yet. Was it true? We survived, didn't we? They sat quietly. Around them, 5,000 humans tried to sleep. 73 veterans stayed awake, checking weapons that weren't really weapons. Reviewing plans that were more hope than strategy. At 0400 hours, Daewon stood. Others stood with him. The movement spread through the hold. 73 people, rising in the dark. Ready. A young civilian approached Daewon. I'm scared, he admitted. Good, Daewon said. Fear keeps you sharp. Use it. What if we fail? Then we fail fighting. Better than dying on our knees in some processing facility. Day one looked around at the gathered humans, veterans and civilians, soldiers and farmers, killers and accountants, all human, all ready. At 400 hours, the hold was dark. Most humans pretended to sleep. The guards walked their usual pattern. North door to west door to south door to east door. Same as always. Same as every night for 2 weeks. They didn't notice that 73 humans weren't sleeping. Didn't notice hands gripping makeshift weapons. Didn't notice the tension in the air. The Vrelen had conquered 40 species. This was routine for them. It was about to stop being routine. Daewon stood near the wall panel he had been working on for days. His fingers found the loose edge. One hard pull and the panel came free. Inside, exactly where Yuna said it would be, were the power conduits. He looked across the hold, caught Junho's eye, nodded once. Junho moved fast. He had placed his 6 bombs over 2 weeks, small devices hidden in cracks behind panels under debris. Now he activated them with a remote he had built from stolen parts. The bombs went off simultaneously. Not huge explosions, focused charges that Junho had calculated perfectly. 3 hit power junctions, 2 hit support beams. 1 hit the door controls, the lights died. Emergency red lights came on, casting everything in blood-colored shadows. Alarms screamed. The shock collar system went offline with the main power. The collars around human necks became just metal. For 3 seconds, the Vrelen guards froze. They had never encountered this. 40 species and none had fought back. They didn't know what to do. The humans knew exactly what to do. Minho's team hit the armory door. The bomb had damaged the lock. 6 humans with metal bars pried the door open. Inside, weapons and armor. The guards stationed there turned, reaching for their rifles. They were too slow. Humans moved like water, flowing through the door. Metal bars swung. Sharpened plastic stabbed. The guards were strong and fast, but they were alone and surrounded. 30 seconds later, humans had Vrelen energy rifles. They didn't know how to use them yet, but they were learning fast. Yuna's team moved through the darkness toward engineering. She knew every turn, every corridor. Behind her came 12 people, armed with improvised weapons and desperate courage. They found engineering lightly guarded. 3 Vrelen sitting at consoles, confident. They looked up as humans burst in, reached for weapons. Someone threw her sharpened metal rod. It flew straight and true, hit the gap in the first guard's neck armor. The Vrelen went down. The other 2 guards were fast. They drew their weapons. But Yuna's team didn't stop, didn't hesitate. They had been prey for 2 weeks. Now they were hunters. The fight was brief and brutal. Humans took injuries. 1 man screamed as an energy blast caught his leg. But there were 12 humans and 2 Vrelen, and the guards had expected the humans to run, not attack. Within a minute, engineering was secure. Yuna ran to the consoles. She didn't read Vrelen, but she understood systems. Power flow, energy distribution, backup systems. She started shutting things down. Gravity generators, life support to guard sections, communication arrays. Leave the hold life support, she ordered, and bridge communications. We need those. On the bridge, the Vrelen captain was screaming orders. What is happening? Report. Explosions in multiple sections, a guard reported.
Power failures.
Communications down. The cargo is attacking. Impossible. They're Category 4. Non-aggressive. Tell them that, the guard said, pointing at the monitors. The screens showed chaos. Humans fighting. Humans winning. Humans moving with coordination and purpose that Category 4 species didn't have. The captain's mind couldn't process it. Every species they had conquered submitted. It was natural law. Prey species didn't fight predators, but humans were fighting, and they were good at it. Sock's team was headed for the bridge. 10 humans armed with stolen rifles they barely knew how to use. They moved through corridors following the route Silk had memorized. They hit resistance. 6 Vrelen guards armored and armed. A real fight. The guards were better trained. They moved tactically, used cover, fired accurately. 3 humans went down in the first exchange, but the humans kept coming. They used human tactics. Tactics the Vrelen had never seen. Flanking, suppressing fire. Grenades made from Yunho's chemical mixtures. The Vrelen were better soldiers, but the humans were better at war. Siok took a blast to the shoulder and kept moving. He reached a console, plugged in a device Yuna had made. Override codes. Door controls. He opened the bridge door remotely. The remaining humans rushed through. In the women's section, Hana's team had moved immediately when the lights went down. They reached the children's section in 90 seconds. Found 4 guards there looking confused. The guards saw women coming, dismissed them, turned back to secure the children. That was their last mistake. Hana had trained these women. Taught them that being smaller and weaker didn't matter if you fought smart. Go for the joints. The neck, the eyes. Use surprise. Use anger. Use the fact that the enemy doesn't expect you to be dangerous. The guards went down hard. The women secured the children, moved them to a corner, stood between them and any danger. One guard wasn't quite dead. He looked up at Hana. Impossible, he whispered through his translator. You're Category 4, you're prey. Hana looked down at him. She had spent 6 years as a combat medic. She had seen things that would break most people. She had kept soldiers alive through impossible wounds. She had learned that humans could survive almost anything if they refused to quit. We're not prey, she said. We're humans. You should have studied us better. The guard died confused. Back in the main hold, Day One fought. A Vrellan guard came at him fast and strong, swung a armored fist that could crush bone. Day One wasn't there when the fist arrived. He moved like water, like smoke. 20 years of training. He went low under the swing. Found the gap in the armor at the neck. Drove his sharpened plastic deep. The guard fell. Day One took its rifle. Checked the charge. 70%. Good enough. Around him the battle raged. Civilians fought with metal bars and rage. Veterans fought with precision and experience. The Vrellan were stronger, faster, better armed. But they had never faced organized resistance before. They were learning. But the lesson was coming too late. Minho's team had taken the armory. Now they were distributing weapons, showing civilians which button to press, which end to point at enemies. Keep it simple. Point and shoot. The Vrellan sent reinforcements. 20 guards, fully armored, moving tactically. They hit the armory hard, but humans had rifles now. And while they weren't trained, they understood the basics. Point at enemy. Pull trigger. Overwhelming firepower makes up for lack of skill. The guards fought well. They were professionals. But they were 20 professionals facing 70 angry humans with stolen weapons in tight quarters. The math was bad. Minho took a hit to the chest. His stolen armor saved him. He went down, got back up, kept fighting. Around him, humans were falling. But more kept coming. The 5,000 in the hold had seen the uprising start. Now they were joining, not all of them. Many were too scared. But hundreds found courage, found anger, found metal bars or stolen weapons or just their fists. They poured into the fight. The Vrellan had never seen anything like it. Prey didn't do this. Prey ran or submitted. Prey didn't organize, didn't coordinate. Didn't keep coming even after casualties, but humans did. On the bridge, the captain faced Sayok and 3 other humans. His guards were down. He was alone. He drew his weapon. Stand down, he ordered. You cannot win. This ship has 300 guards. You're barely 100 fighters. We will crush you, Sayok smiled. Blood ran from his wounded shoulder. You still don't get it. We don't need to beat all your guards. We just need to take this ship, and we're about to. The captain fired. Sayok dodged. Another human returned fire. The captain's shields held, but humans kept shooting. The shields flickered. Failed, the captain went down. Sayok took the command console, activated ship-wide communications. His voice echoed through every corridor, every hold, every section. Attention all Vrellan forces. This ship is now under human control. Your captain is down. Your armory is taken. Your engineering is compromised. You have one chance. Surrender or die. Your choice, silence. Then slowly, weapons powered down. Guards emerged from barracks, hands raised. They had conquered 40 species. They knew when a fight was lost. It took 3 more hours to secure the ship completely. The cost was heavy. 47 humans dead, over 100 wounded, but 5,000 were free. Day One stood on the bridge looking at the controls. Jiwon, the pilot, was already working on them. I can fly this, she said. It's different from human ships, but the principles are the same. Can you broadcast? Daewon asked. To Earth? Yes. And to the Vrellan fleet. And to anyone else listening. Do it. All channels. Maximum range. Jiwon's fingers flew over alien controls. You're broadcasting. Daewon activated the communication system. Looked into the camera. Behind him stood other veterans. Minho, wounded but standing. Yuna, covered in grease and blood. Sok holding his injured shoulder. Hyun, Hana, Bora, Junho, Somin. All of them. And behind them 5,000 freed humans. Daewon spoke clearly. This is Prisoner Transport 7. We were taken by the Vrellan Empire. We were told we were prey. We were told we were weak. We were told to submit. He smiled. It was not a kind smile. We are human. We don't submit. This ship is now under our control. We are transmitting our location to Earth. We are transmitting evidence of Vrellan crimes against humanity. The broadcast reached Earth 6 hours later. It reached Vrellan space at the same time. It reached the Galactic Council headquarters on Centris Prime 12 hours after that. And everything changed. On Earth, military headquarters went into emergency session. They watched the footage, saw Daewon's message, saw the freed humans, saw what the Vrellan had done. Humanity had been trying diplomacy, trying to join the galactic community peacefully. The Vrellan had seemed friendly at first contact. They had shared technology, made promises all lies, all preparation for harvest. Earth's military had been quiet for 50 years. No major wars, no conflicts. Soldiers trained for peacekeeping and defense. Many people thought humanity had outgrown war. They were wrong. Humanity hadn't outgrown war. They had just put it away. Like a tool you don't need but never throw out. Now they took it out again. Admiral Krell commanded the Vrellan fleet in Sector 7. 20 warships, hundreds of support vessels. An entire military group that had conquered species and crushed resistance for decades. He watched the broadcast from the human ship. Watched it 3 times. Then called his staff. How is this possible? He demanded. They're Category 4. The scans confirmed it. Weak bodies. No natural weapons. No aggressive instincts. The scans were accurate, his science officer said. Humans are physically inferior to 60% of known species. They have no special abilities. No venom, no armor, no enhanced strength. Then explain that. Krell pointed at the screen showing human fighters. The science officer had no answer. Destroy that ship, Krell ordered. Immediately. Send the Warfang battle group. 20 ships. Overwhelming force. I want no survivors and no evidence, but it was already too late. The broadcast had spread. Other species had seen it. The Galactic Council had seen it. And they started asking questions. Ambassador Liss was from a species called the Trell. They were neutral. They didn't conquer or fight. They mediated, studied, observed. Liss had spent 40 years in galactic service. She had seen many species join the community. She had never seen anything like the human broadcast. She called up Earth's records, started reading. The Vrellan had done basic scans but no real research. They saw soft bodies and stopped looking. Liss kept reading. And reading. And reading 10,000 years of recorded warfare. Hundreds of distinct cultures, all developing military tactics independently. Thousands of wars, large and small. Technologies invented specifically for killing. Philosophies written about strategy and conflict. The Vrellan had scanned human bodies. Liss was reading human history, and she was horrified. She called an emergency council session. 40 species sent representatives. She presented her findings. The Vrellan classified humans as Category 4, she said. Non-aggressive. No warrior evolution. Natural prey species. But look at their history. Images appeared. Human wars. Human weapons. Human tactics spanning millennia. They organized warfare before they developed space travel. Liss continued. Every species in the council reached space first, then occasionally fought. Humans fought constantly and still reached space. They didn't evolve for war. They invented it. The council chamber was silent. Representatives looked at the images, saw technologies developed purely for killing, saw strategies for mass combat, saw a species that had fought itself for 10,000 years and survived. They chose peace, Liss said, not because they couldn't fight, because they didn't want to anymore. The Vrellan mistook that choice for weakness. On the council viewing screen, Daewon's message played again. We chose peace because we wanted to, not because we had to. A representative from the Mordic Empire spoke up. One captured ship. One small victory. The Vrellan have hundreds of ships. Thousands of soldiers. These humans cannot win. Liss looked at him. Did you read their history? They've won with worse odds. On Prisoner Transport 7, now renamed Freedom, Daewon stood in the captured bridge. G1 had the ship moving. They had weapons. They had freed humans who wanted revenge, but they were one ship. The Vrellan had sent 20 ships to hunt them. Warfang Battle Group is 3 hours away, Quan reported. He had learned to use the Vrellan sensors. We can't fight them. We need to run. No, Day1 said. We run, they'll hunt us forever. We need to send another message. What message? Minho asked. That we can die dramatically? Day1 smiled. That humans don't die easy. He called the veterans together, showed them the tactical situation. 20 Vrellan warships coming, 1 human ship that barely worked. 5,000 civilians to protect. We can't win, Hyun said flatly. We don't need to win, Day1 replied. We need to hurt them, make them afraid, make them hesitate. Every Vrellan ship we damage is a ship that won't attack Earth. Bora studied the layout. Her tactical mind was working. Ambush, she said. They expect us to run. We do the opposite. We go toward them. Hide in that debris field. She pointed at the map. Wait until they're close. Hit them hard. Jump away before they can respond. We don't know how to use most of these weapons, someone pointed out. Yuna? Day1 asked. The engineer was already at a weapons console. These are simple. Point and shoot, basically. The ship's computer handles targeting. We just need to pick targets and confirm fire. It was a terrible plan. They would probably die. But they would die fighting. And, more importantly, they would prove that humans were dangerous. 3 hours later, the Warfang battle group entered the debris field. They were hunting. They expected to find a fleeing transport ship full of scared prey. Instead, Freedom powered up from hiding and opened fire at point-blank range. Vrellan shields held, mostly. But Freedom had weapons designed to crack other warships. Day1 had ordered Yuna to reroute all power to weapons. No shields. No backup systems. Just weapons. 2 Vrellan ships took critical damage. 1 lost engines. Another lost weapons. Then Freedom jumped. Used the Vrellan faster than light drive. Disappeared before the other ships could respond. The battle lasted 40 seconds. Then the humans were gone. Admiral Krell stared at his tactical display. 2 ships damaged. By cargo transport. By Category 4 species. Impossible. But it had happened. The Freedom jumped to a Vrellan colony. A small outpost where captured species worked in mines. Guards numbered in the hundreds. Slaves numbered in the thousands. The Freedom broadcast on all channels. We are human. We are coming. Any human held here, get ready. In 1 hour you're going home. Then they attacked. It wasn't a military assault. It was a prison break supported by orbital fire. They blew the guard barracks, destroyed the communication center, opened the prison doors, and humans inside the prison fought back. They had heard Day1's broadcast 2 days ago. They had been waiting, hoping. Now hope had arrived. The guards tried to stop them. But they were used to broken slaves, not organized resistance. The humans fought like Day1's people, with coordination, with purpose, with 10,000 years of warfare in their blood. The Freedom rescued 3,000 humans, left the colony burning, jumped away before Vrellan reinforcements arrived. They hit 2 more sites in the next week, each time the same pattern. Broadcast a message, attack hard, free the prisoners, disappear. Each time they recorded everything, broadcast it across the galaxy. And other species started watching, started thinking. The Vrellan had conquered 40 species, all Category 4, all prey. All submitted quickly because that's what prey did. But humans were showing them something different. Showing them that prey could fight back. That submission wasn't inevitable. The 3rd species the Vrellan had conquered was called the Henniks. Peaceful people. Farmers and artists. They had submitted in 2 days. Now they had been slaves for 5 years. They watched the human broadcasts, saw humans fighting, winning. A Henniks leader named Tor called a secret meeting. If humans can fight, he said, maybe we can too. On the Freedom, Day1 received a message. It came from a Henniks slave camp. We are ready, it said. Come help us. Day1 looked at his people. They were exhausted, wounded, running on hope and anger. But they were winning. We're not just freeing humans anymore, he said. We're starting a revolution. Earth's military arrived in Vrellan space 3 weeks after Day1's first broadcast. They came with 50 warships, thousands of soldiers, clear orders, bring humanity's children home, teach the Vrellan a lesson. Earth's general, a woman named Commander Isul, made her own broadcast. The Vrellan Empire invaded Earth, took our people, treated them as cargo, This was a mistake. We tried to join the galactic community peacefully. You responded with slavery. Now you face the consequences. She looked directly into the camera. Humanity invented organized warfare. We spent 10,000 years perfecting it. Then we chose to stop. That choice ends now. Return every human you've taken, free every species you've enslaved, or face humanity at war. Admiral Krell had 300 ships. Earth had 50. The math favored him. He prepared to attack. Then 17 other enslaved species rebelled. All at once, coordinated, they had learned from humans. They hit critical facilities, used tactics from human broadcasts, fought back. The Varellan Empire, which had stood for centuries, suddenly faced coordinated resistance on 40 worlds. Krell's 300 ships weren't enough. He needed his ships everywhere at once. While Earth's 50 ships concentrated their force, the first battle was brief. Earth's ships used tactics the Varellan had never seen. Flanking maneuvers,